Hey everyone, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3 back here with another video, and I decided to do a ranking video on all 7 seasons of Avatar. Basically, all 4 seasons of The Legend of Korra and all 3 seasons of The Last Airbender. So there are 7 seasons in between 2 shows. And I decided to do a ranking video from worst season of all time to the best season of all time. So, without further delay, here is my Avatar seasons ranking video. At number 7, at the absolute worst, is The Legend of Korra Book 2 Spirits. I do not like this season, mainly for its main antagonist, Unalaq. Now, yes, Unalaq is Korra's uncle. And, oh yeah, he has this jealousy towards Korra's father, Tonraq. And he was responsible for Korra's father being exiled to the south. Basically, he wanted his brother out of the way so he could become chief of the north. You'd think Unalaq would just be satisfied with ruling the north. No. Unalaq is just so boring as a villain. He's probably the most boring villain out of the Legend of Korra's roster of villains. And of course, there's also another villain named Vatu, the evil spirit. And Unalaq's whole endgame, he wants to become a dark avatar. Also, Unalaq has these 2 kids named Desna and Eska, but they are not that great. I mean, yeah, they do appear in the next season after this season, so yeah. Unalaq is just so generic. I mean, hell, one of his kids get hurt, he doesn't even give a crap about that. No, he wants to, and I quote, become a dark avatar and unleash 10,000 years of darkness. Also, Season 2 was also the season where we are introduced to the character of Varrick and his assistant, Zhu Li. Like I said, I do not like Season 2 mainly because of Unalaq. I know one character shouldn't ruin an entire season, but for me, Unalaq is just the reason why this season sucks so much. Yes, I did like the final battle between the giant spirit Korra taking on the giant Vatulak, or Unavatu, who's basically a fusion of Vatu and Unalaq. And yes, we also get an origin backstory for the Avatar on the very first Avatar named Wan, and how the Avatar legend came about. Okay, I can admit they do give us a unique premise for the origins of the Avatar, but still, I did not like this season, and I do not ever want to rewatch this season ever again. It is definitely my least favorite of the Korra seasons. Now on to number 6, Last Airbender Book 1, Water. Alright, so the basic premise of this is that Aang, Sokka, and Katara are on a journey to the North Pole to teach Aang, just so Aang could learn waterbending. Also, the fact that its main antagonist, Zhao, is probably the weakest of the antagonists for the Last Airbender antagonists. Zhao is just not that great. Yeah, he's just power hungry, and yeah, there was that whole thing. But I still enjoyed Book 1, despite its faults. Yes, the villain was very lackluster, but otherwise, I still enjoy rewatching it, and I still enjoy what Book 1 had going for it. So, in the end, I definitely say I'd rather watch Book 1, Water, over Book 2, Spirits, anytime for these coming in the last spots. But still, I had to put something in the number 6 spot, and I thought Book 1 Water would just make the perfect example. Don't get me wrong, it's still a unique season. It was the season that started it all for Avatar. but it would probably be the weakest of the last Airbender seasons. Next up at number 5, The Legend of Korra Book 4 Balance. So after what happened at the end of Book 3, we see Korra go through having to deal with the balances within herself and the inner conflict within herself. Especially her having to deal with her trauma and fears. And I just love how we're seeing the hero at their absolute lowest. And we're trying to see our hero recover from this and having to get over it. Getting over their trauma. And working through their trauma. Sure, Korra may never forget Zahir and what he did. But she knows that she can't let it define her. And also, I love how Kuvira was such a unique villain in her own right. Kuvira was such a really cool villain. I liked Kuvira. She was definitely the third best villain in The Legend of Korra for me. But still, it was really awesome seeing this giant mech that she was piloting really well, made of platinum. The Legend of Korra's 4th season, ended on a really good note, and I really loved the 4th season of Korra. It definitely does its job well of wrapping up the Legend of Korra. Next up, number 4, Last Airbender Book 2 Earth. This was the season that introduced one of my favorite characters, Toph Beifong. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention, back in Book 4 of Legend of Korra, Toph also reappeared in that season. But still, it was really cool that this was the introduction we got for Toph. And also not only for Toph, but Azula. Well, technically Azula appeared in Book 1, but it was mainly in a flashback at the end of Book 1. But here she gets more of a speaking role, and we get to see her hunt down Zuko and Iroh after what happened at the North Pole. And we see Zuko and Iroh on the run. This season is just awesome. And also, to add more fuel to the fire of this season, Appa gets taken by Sandbenders, and the Avatar and his friends travel to Ba Sing Se. And honestly, Book 2 Earth is just awesome no matter what. I love the action of Book 2, I love the funny moments of Book 2, and yes, it also has that Empire Strikes Back style of ending, where the villains actually win at the end of Book 2. So, there's that. Also, it definitely does its job well to lead into the third and final installment of Last Airbender. At the number 3 spot, we got The Legend of Korra Book 1 Air. So yes, this is the very first season of The Legend of Korra. Sure, some people may not like this season all that much from the Korra seasons, but I actually still like this season nonetheless. I liked Amon, he was so badass, and I loved the fact that he was voiced by Steve Blum, the guy who played Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop and Mugen in Samurai Champloo. I mean, he just gave Amon so much power in his voice. I love the idea of the Equalist really well. And also, yeah, there was also Tarlok, who was also played by D. Bradley Baker. Yeah, the guy who plays all the clone troopers in Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Yeah, he was the voice of Tarlok. And also, it does its job well introducing the future Team Avatar really well. So, it all said, The Legend of Korra's first season is just an enjoyable treat. At number 2 is The Legend of Korra Book 3 Changes. Or Change. I actually like this season, mainly for its main villain, Zahir, and his followers of the Red Lotus. The Red Lotus members include Paul Lee, who's basically a relative of Combustion Man from The Last Airbender, as well as Ming Hua, a armless waterbender who uses waterbending to create arms. And don't even get me started on Zahir's earthbending or lava bender guy named Jazar. Jazar. I think that's his name. And yeah, this is also the season where Bolin learns lava bending. And yes, we also meet Su Beifong, who's Lin Beifong's younger sister. So yeah, we meet the daughter. We actually learn Toph had 2 daughters. Go figure, Toph actually had 2 daughters. So in all sense, Book 3 of The Legend of Korra is my favorite of the Korra seasons. But if I had to pick my favorite of the Avatar seasons in general, it'd be Last Airbender Book 3 Fire. Well, they built up to Aang versus Fire Lord Ozai very well, and the fight lived up to the hype. So in all sense, Book 3 Fire also does its job wrapping up Last Airbender very well. Okay, it also leads into a comic called The Search that you could also buy. But anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I will see you next time. See ya!